What is going on, guys? My name is Lex. Day number 3 here in Vegas. Today we are playing at the Venetian. Right up here. We're going to be playing 5-10 no limit. This game does not run too often here from what I've been told, and it looks pretty good. So we're going to get in there, show you guys some hands. Let's run good. Let's go. Alright guys, welcome back to the vlog. We actually were not planning on playing or even filming a session at the Venetian, but day number 3 here in Vegas, we were heading back from the Wynn to the Bellagio, and when I was walking, I looked on Bravo and saw that the Venetian was running a 5-10 game, which doesn't always happen. So I stopped inside, I looked at the table, and there was one seat open, so I sat down, bought it for $2,400. It's our first ever 5-10 session here at the Venetian. From my experience, it's pretty hard to find a good 5-10 game in Vegas, but it looks like we found one. There's a lot of recreational players and maybe only one other player that is a professional, so we're going to get right into the first hand here. We look down at Jack 10 offsuit. There's an early position limper, and we're in the cutoff. We raise it up to $40. Folds all the way back around to the limper, and he makes the call. So going to our first flop here at the Venetian, playing 5-10, which we flop an open ender. It comes down 3 Queen 9 rainbow. Good board for us here. Any 8 or any king will give us a straight. My opponent checks to me. I put out a $40 c-bet, and he snap calls. So going here to the turn, it would be really nice to make a hand for once, and the dealer is listening to us. He puts out the 8 of spades, giving us the nuts. My opponent checks to me, and we are going to size up here. Betting pretty big. We put out a bet of $200. Against this player type, I'm trying to get max value from all of his 2-pair and his flush draws, so he ends up making the call. $200 going into the middle, going to the river, which is a total brick. Deuce of clubs, he checks it over to me, and now I have to decide what kind of bet sizing should I use here on the river. This player is already down about $2,000 since I got here, and he doesn't look like the kind of player that likes to fold, so I'm going to bet big here. I decide to put out a bet of $600. We have the nuts straight. We have the best hand possible here, which means we're going to get back our $600, the money in the middle, and if our opponent calls, we'll get an extra $600, but he ends up folding, showing ace deuce of spades for the nut flush draw on the turn, so not going to get paid off here on the river, but we do win our first pot here, Venetian 5-10. Moving on to our next hand here, we raise to $30 in middle position with 8-6 of clubs. Only the big blind makes the call, and this is a player I definitely want to be playing pots with, one of the weaker players at the table. The flop comes out ace, king, 10, rainbow. Whenever he checks it over to us, I decide to put out a c-bet, which looking back, I don't really like this. I don't really have any equity, and against a player who likes to call, I probably should just be checking. But I bet $30 and he makes the call. With $125 in the middle, we go to the turn, which is the 9 of clubs, giving us a lot more outs here. Any 7 gives us a straight, and a club will give us a flush. So when he checks it over to me, I continue to bet here. I bet $100, trying to get him to fold his hands like King X or 10X. But apparently he's not in the folding mood. He makes the call, so we're probably going to give up on the river unless we hit a club or a 7, which we do not. It's a total brick. He checks it over to us. I check back and say 8 high. He shows Queen 10 offsuit for a 10, which is going to win it. Next hand, we raise to $30 in the hijack with a premium hand, ace king of spades. The button is a pretty active player, puts in a 3-bet to $100. Now the action's on the big blind player who called us down with a 10 from last hand, and he cold calls $100. So the action's back on us, and we're going to put in a 4-bet here. We don't want to play out of position with such a strong hand against 2 other players, so we're going to bump this one up. I settle on a 4-bet to $420. The action's on the button who pretty quickly lets go of his hand, but the big blind does something I was not expecting. He decides to go all in. He shoves all of his chips in the middle, and I am definitely not going to be folding my hand against him, so I make the call. Alright. Once or twice? I'm ready to go home. Once or twice? Up to you. I always go twice, but it's up to you. I always go twice, either way. Alright, twice. Go. 2 times. We ultimately decide to run this one twice with about $3,500 in the middle, and I'll save you guys about 30 seconds of your lives. We end up chopping this one up. We both had ace-king suited, and the board came ace-high and king-high, so we chop this one up. Moving on to the next hand. Unfortunately, after this hand, the 5-10 game breaks. There's only 3 people that want to play, so we decide to drop the game down to 3-5 and fill up the table, and we do get a special guest that I was definitely not planning to see. Poker vlogger Johnnie Vibes sits down at our table. Definitely wasn't expecting this. I've been a fan of this guy for a long time. I went over to introduce myself and he said that he saw a couple of my intros for the vlog, so that's pretty cool. Now we have two vloggers at the table. First hand we play here at 3-5, we have pocket 8s from early position. Raise it up to $20 and only the button makes the call. So going heads up here to the board of Ace 8-4. We flop a set here on a pretty wet board. Hopefully our opponent has a hand like Ace Jack or Ace Queen. I put out a C bet of $30. Looking back, I think a pot size bet would be better here. Trying to get called by all aces, flush draws, and straight draws. I don't think he's going to fold any of those on the flop. So going to the turn, which is a jack of clubs, doesn't change anything at all unless he has a hand like ace jack, which would be great. He just turned 2 pair. I'm going to continue to bet here, trying to build this pot, trying to get value from flush draws, aces, and 2 pairs. I put out a bet of $85. The action is now on the button, who thinks for a little bit of time, looks down at his chips and looks back at his cards and decides to give him back to the dealer. So he ends up making the fold, which is a little unfortunate, but we did raise pre-flop with pocket 8s and flop a set, which is always nice. Time to play our first of 2 hands here with Johnnie Vibes. I straddle onto the gun, he makes it 30 on the button, and I make the call. So heads up here to the flop of 6, 7, 8 with 2 clubs. So I flop a pair and a gut shot and a backdoor flush draw. So I check it over to him, and he puts out a C bet of $35. I go back and forth whether I should check raise or just call. Let's say he raised under the gun. On this board, I'm going to hit it a lot more than he will. But the fact that he raised on the button, he can have all straights, sets, and 2 pairs on this board. So I don't think a check raise is the best. So I just make the call. Going here to the turn, which we do improve to a straight and a flush draw. It's a 9 of clubs. I take an unorthodox line here and decide to lead out with my straight. I want to try to get value from all of his sets, his 2 pairs, maybe his aces and kings and queens with 1 club that he might check back on the turn. So I bet out $100 and he pretty quickly makes the fold. So we end up taking down our first pot here against Johnnie Vibes. A small one, but it's still a win. I hope you guys are ready for the most interesting hand of the night here. We have pocket 8s in the big blind. Johnny raises to $20 in the cutoff. The button calls 20 and I call 20. So going 3 ways to the flop, which comes out 10-5-3. I end up checking it over to Johnny, who puts out a small C-bet. He bets $25. I'm a big fan of Johnny's vlogs, so I know he C-bets at a pretty high frequency. So whenever the button folds, I end up making the call here with pocket 8s. I think I can be ahead of a lot of his range here. He could be C-betting with some ace high draws like ace 4 or ace deuce. He could be betting a smaller pair like 7s or 6s, or he could be betting some Broadway cards with backdoor equity. So the turn pairs the board. It's another 5. I check it over to Johnny, who puts out another bet. He bets $75 this time. This is a close spot between folding and calling, and at the time I thought that calling would be fine just because he's so aggressive, but looking back now, I think it could actually be a fold. He's pretty strong here betting into 2 people and then continuing on the turn whenever the 5 pairs, so I don't actually like my call. However, I do really like the river. The river's an 8, so we end up making a full house. What a miracle river for us. We end up rivering the 3rd nuts, only losing to pocket 10s and quad 5s. I check it over to him and he continues to bet. And he doesn't bet small either. He puts in a massive bet of $325.
I want him to think that I'm pondering a call. But all I'm really thinking about is Vegas and the fucking Mirage.
My boy Mikey D couldn't have said it any better. All we're thinking about now is Vegas and the fucking Venetian, and now we have to decide what raise size should we do. And I want to make it look like a bluff. I want to try to level Johnny into thinking that I'm trying to bluff him because I watch his vlogs and I'm a vlogger too. So after tanking for about a minute, I decide to go big. I shove all in for $1,225. All in?
All in?
The dealer counts out my chips and Johnny is in the tank. His brain is definitely in the blender and I don't blame him. My hand really doesn't make any sense here and he starts talking to himself now, trying to go through the hand in his head while talking out loud.
It's just you're looking so narrow. I guess we just have pocket 3s, I guess. Pocket 3s are a bluff.
While Johnny is talking the hand over out loud, I'm trying to do my best Tom Dwan impression. I'm staring right at the river, not blinking, not moving a muscle at all. I don't want to make this decision any easier for him. Johnny's been playing live poker for over 10 years, so he knows exactly what to look for in his opponent to decide if they're weak or strong. Johnny tanks for over 2 minutes and decides to make the call. I show my pocket 8s for a full house, and it is going to be a winner. Given the fact that Johnny tanked so long and made the call, I'm guessing he had an overpair or possibly a 5, so we obviously got super lucky here, but hey, it's poker. Sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. We end up scooping over a $2,700 pot here, which is definitely needed after our huge loss, our session before at the Win 510. All right, guys, finishing up our session here at the Venetian, and it feels good to finally win a session. If you guys have been following along with the Vegas vlogs, Bellagio first vlog, we won about $1,000, and then the Win 510 vlog, the next day, lost $4,000 in that session. But what I didn't show you guys is right after the Win, I went to the Bellagio 10, 20, 40 game I played. Probably one of the biggest games I've ever played. And I ran super bad. There was a big action player at the table, and I got it all in with him with top 2 pair versus a gut shot, and we chopped. I lost a big pot with pocket aces. I couldn't win a hand. Ended up losing 3.5K at the 2040 game. So yesterday I lost $7,000 playing poker. So I'm gonna put my results up here somewhere of what has happened so far on this trip, but it's been total destruction. So to finally come away with a win here is feels pretty good. We got some steam rolling back. Ended up in the game today for $3,000, starting off at 510, moving to 3.5, cashing out for $4,016, so profit of $1,016. Met Johnnie Vibes, never met him before. He's a super cool guy. Ended up playing a couple pots with him, and basically my whole profit was rivering a boat against him. So, I mean, I'll take it. I got super lucky, but you know, it's about time I get lucky. That's all I gotta say. So, if you guys enjoy this vlog, hit that like and subscribe button. I come out with videos just like this every single week, and we're heading back to Miami soon. We're gonna get back on the grind there. All right, guys, I've been back in Miami now for about a week, and I want to go over my Vegas trip results. So basically, in Vegas, I got crushed. I lost over $9,000. I played a total of 5 days, 57 hours at multiple casinos, and I got destroyed. And I kind of want to talk about my thoughts about all this. So factor number 1 is that the 510 level in Vegas is some of the toughest games I've ever played. There's so many good players, a lot of online players from different countries that are now coming there to play live, which makes the 510 level really tough. Along with that, I didn't see many big fish or action players at the table. There wasn't many players that were coming in that were willing to lose $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for fun because they're so well off in their real life. And you need players like that at that game. You have to have players that are willing to come in and lose money so that hopefully you can win it. If it's just a bunch of really good players at the table, it's going to be really hard to win money. So the third factor would be that I felt like the atmosphere in Vegas was just super conservative. Everyone was playing really tight. It kind of felt like the last level of a tournament right before the money bubble. And then factor number 4 is I just ran bad. I've been playing poker now for over 3 years professionally, so I know the swings, the ups and the downs. I know when I'm doing well on an upswing, and I know when I'm on a downswing. And the negative variance was definitely hitting me out there. I was just losing a ton with big pocket pairs. I couldn't get much going. I also wasn't really flopping any sets or rivering flushes or straights or coolering people. So all that added up is going to lead to a pretty big downswing. With all that being said, I love Vegas. I love the city. The staff and the dealers in Vegas are always good and always great. So I'm excited to go back for the World Series. I just hope the games are a little bit better. I'm back here in Florida though. I'm going to be playing a 510 session here in a couple days and going to record it for you guys. Going to come out with that vlog next week. And then I'm going to Texas. Going to be playing on 2 live streams. July 8th, TCH Live, 2-5 game. I think it's $1,000 max. And then July 10th, playing at the Lodge Live. That's a 5-5 game, and I don't think there is a max, so I'll be buying in pretty deep for that game. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we're going to try to get out of this downswing. So far, here in Florida, I've already made back about $6,000 of what I lost in Vegas. So, it's good to be back home, that is for sure. That's it for this one. Until next time, I'll see you.